Colonel Kwiatkowski, a pleasure, my dear friend. Welcome here. Thank you for accommodating my schedule. Who will be Trump's scapegoat for his lost war in Iran? He's never going to take the blame himself.
No. I am not sure yet, but I think he's setting up both Rubio and Vance, either one, to do it. But it looks like Vance. I mean, he sent Vance in to negotiate the MOU. Couple, 3 times he's met, and Vance was kind of treated like the odd man out, I guess, in the video of some of these meetings in Switzerland, and also the meetings in Pakistan. They didn't really embrace Vance, and it's not sure how effectual he was, but putting him out there as the face of the MOU does make it easy for Trump to blame him and cast the blame on him. But I'm not sure. It's one thing what Trump wants to do and what the powers that be in Washington want to do. And by that, I mean neocons and Israeli forces, basically. People don't believe a lot of what they hear out of Washington anymore. I think, Trump imagines that he's the most popular president ever, and he's not. He has lost so much of his credibility.
How about Pistol Pete, who told the president that the war would be over in a weekend? I mean, he went along militarily, not politically, militarily, with the nonsense that David Barnea, the head of Mossad, and Netanyahu himself fed to Trump.
Yeah. Well, the problem with, Pete is not reliable. I mean, Pete is a good guy to keep in the administration because he's so loyal and he's so stupid. No offense. I know you worked with him. Maybe he's not stupid, but he's very loyal. And, he does what he's told by Trump, and he's very pro-Israel. So that's why I think if you look at who we're going to scapegoat for the various sins of the Trump administration, that's not just Trump's decision. That is the people around him. That's kind of like if you look at who's on the board of the Gaza Peace Board or whatever they're calling it. If you look at those board members, those are the people that decide who to scapegoat. And Hegseth has one benefit, and that is he's rabidly pro-Israel. He's a Christian Zionist, got the tattoos to show it, to prove it. He is a good guy to have, and they can always get rid of him at any time because he's done so many things that are wrong. You don't even have to scapegoat him. You just say, yeah, you lost the war, you lied, you did this or that. But Vance is a political threat to Israel. Rubio is probably their pick if they can't find another candidate 2.5 years or 2 years from now when we start the next presidential campaign. So Rubio has to be protected, I think, by Israel. And I think that's what's happening. I think that's what Rubio is doing. He's preparing for this next election. And his biggest threat is, of course, Vance, because Vance is the only guy that can still possibly connect with all the MAGA voters that have abandoned Trump or basically won't show up for Trump anymore, which is over half of the organization. I'm sure probably 2/3 of MAGA is not happy with Trump. And,
right.
They're not going to connect with Rubio. They possibly could connect to Vance, but that's why you want to use Vance as a scapegoat. You can just possibly, and again, I think the powers that be it's basically, what does Israel want? What does Israel need? What does AIPAC want? What's best for them? And then from there, you can go forward to see who's going to get shafted. And when I wrote that article, I really was thinking more about Tulsi because when Tulsi Gabbard resigned, her last day of office, she came out with a pretty good report on bioweapons labs. I mean, it wasn't a lot that was new, but she confirmed what a lot of people believed. And of course, that our government hid. And she came down pretty hard on Fauci, although he's like the Teflon, guy. But Tulsi did a great job. She stayed longer than I think many people thought she should, but she did that. But then the very next week, I saw a couple of articles, hit pieces on Tulsi. And I said, well, why are they, what's that about? And again, I think it's connected to, they put in Pulte. Pulte doesn't know intelligence, but Pulte's the hatchet man. He's going to fire everybody. And
who wrote Tulsi Gabbard's speeches, according to these articles?
Yeah, some I want to say a Hare Krishna guy, or he's a branch of Hare Krishna. He knew her parents. She had been a friend of his, or maybe in his congregation. I don't know if they call them congregations, but Yeah, anyway, supposedly some guy that nobody's ever heard of has been writing all of her speeches for like the last 6 or 7 years. So that's pretty nutty. And of course, they backed it up with absolutely nothing. It was just basically,
Right.
made up story. So they did that. And then there was another hit piece related to intelligence because they want to discredit any Tulsi loyalists. And so that's where Pulte comes in. He's going to, take all these guys out, guys and gals. And then they'll bring in a congressionally approved DNI, and that guy or gal will definitely have the stamp of Israel's approval. They will be confirmed. And then they'll say Pulte went too far because he didn't understand intelligence, which would be a true statement. And then they will refill that the staff up with people that will say what Israel wants them to say to the next president, to our current president. So this is just a big game. It's really terrible.
Well, this is not something I created or Chris created. This is from your article at judgesnap.com, isn't it?
Yeah, it's from the Substack. It's an AI creation. You just tell the AI what to make, and it makes things you can choose. I thought that was kind of cute.
It is. It is funny. Scott Ritter points out that the Rubio Vance confrontation is right before our eyes because Rubio's, and this is bottom of the fold, not top of the fold, agreement for peace between Israel and Lebanon. Now, the government of Lebanon doesn't even control most of Lebanon. We know that, but they signed this peace agreement with Israel that Marco Rubio mediated, is at odds with the Memorandum of Understanding, which basically says Israel's got to get the hell out of Lebanon.
That's right. That's right. And in this particular case, you could almost see, well, we don't know what's going on with Trump. Trump goes back and forth. I think he was going to obliterate all of Iranian society last week after the MOU. So I'm not sure where Trump stands, but clearly this actually makes Trump look bad because Trump has touted publicly the MOU, and even though he doesn't even know what's in it, and he sent Vance to kind of make it happen, and that was something Trump wanted. He wants to get out of Iran. Okay, why wouldn't he? That would be something. The whole population of America wants to get out of Iran. We don't want this war. We never wanted it, and I think Trump is got other things to do. So it's possible that Rubio is challenging Trump, is actually trying to sink Trump's reputation as much as he is Vance's. But Rubio is definitely a tool. And when you see and watch what Rubio is doing, then you see the true face, I think, of the deep state, the one Trump was supposed to get rid of, but is actually a part of.
Do the Israelis hate Vance because of his taking Netanyahu to task when the MOU first came out?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I think they've always hated Vance. First off, Vance has the benefit, I think, for a lot of people of having he has a little streak of libertarian in him. It's not very much. It's not much, but it's there. It is part of who he is. He comes from the same kind of part of this the country that Massey comes from. So you have this kind of Appalachian mentality, which is independent, and so Vance has this, and he also has rich friends that create AI that'll control and dominate the world. He has that too. But, he comes across, he did when he campaigned and occasionally comes across now as vice president as the common sense alternative. And often he says things that people actually think, like, we do this because, whatever. He explains it in a way I think the majority of Americans can at least understand if they're not blinded by hatred and disgust for him, which, a lot of people don't listen to any politicians. So Vance has a skill in touching the average voter and also across party lines more than Rubio has. Rubio comes across as a little bit stilted, a little bit arrogant. He's smart. He's smart enough. I mean, he can articulate the words of the English language. There's no doubt. But he doesn't really connect well, and
they both have Zionist patrons. Yes, Rubio has Paul Singer, Vance has Peter Thiel.
That's right. That's right. And that's what you need. Anyway.
And they're both billionaires. I don't know if Singer is self-made. He's much older than Thiel is. Thiel is clearly self-made. You know, he was a buddy of Elon Musk when they were grad students at Stanford, and neither of them had two nickels to rub together.
Yeah, that's it is interesting how well, but this is always, you know, we're worried about the military being integrated with our military integrated with Israel, because apparently the Congress, the House, has determined that they will have no discussion. Of course, we're going to include Section 224 in the NDAA for 2027. So that's
no debate. No debate.
We cannot, why would you need debate? It's so obvious we're going to do it. Why would you need debate?
That's the decree. That's the decree of the Christian nationalist who is the Speaker of the House. This is the Huckabee School.
That's right. So, and we've seen already years and years of AIPAC, which speaks for Israel's interests, supporting both parties. And now with the Republicans, they are going to support both potential Republican candidates. And that gives them at least some ability to, you know, have some leverage if either one of those guys gets a nomination and then goes on to win the presidency. So there is that. And there's also this obsession with being involved in anything to do with American politics. You know, Israel is obsessed with not just controlling Washington and all the elected congressmen. They are after governors. They are after mayors. You know, we've seen, you know, San Marcos City in Texas discovered that, you know, $4 billion a year or something of their tax revenue were buying Israel bonds, and they didn't want to do that. They said, we don't approve of the genocide. We don't know why we're doing this. Yeah, it's an investment, but we choose not to. And the mayor, the governor, Abbott, rolled his wheelchair down to San Marcos and lambasted these people and told them, no, you will do what we tell you. The state loves Israel and you are part of the state, and you will continue to support their fundraising efforts. And, you know, this is how it is. I mean, so we're worried about the integration of our military. Our whole political system, our whole society, and our military are already heavily integrated with the interests of Israel and leveraged for the interest of Israel. And the funny thing is, Trump, because I think I heard somebody say the other day, it was Blumenthal, your guest that you have frequently. He said Trump is he's the most dishonest president. He lies all the time that we've ever had. And he's also the most honest one. And I think that's the true description of him. He says what's true. And I think by Trump saying, you know, we went into this war for Israel, that's, you know, we've done it before, but it's the first time we've admitted it. So people are getting the picture, and Israel is a part and parcel to our government. So when we revolt or decentralize or whatever happens, that people finally are so dissatisfied with Washington, we will be fighting Washington that is augmented by all the forces that Israel can bring to bear in this country. That's just, I think we have to start thinking that way.
I love our friend Pat Buchanan's great one-liner: the Congress of the United States is Israeli occupied territory. I want to switch gears slightly, Karen. Will the Arab states tell the United States to go home?
Well, they may not tell them to go home, but they're probably not going to fund new facilities to be built. And I think the Americans know that. In fact, part of Rubio's visit to the Gulf states last week was to kind of, I think, feel them out as to where they stood, because those bases are going to need the bases we have that have been blown up all along the Gulf Coast and elsewhere. I think 14 to 18 bases have been severely damaged. These bases are going to cost billions and billions of unfunded dollars if we're going to rebuild them. And when we normally go into countries like this, we trade this idea of security for not just their real estate, but their finances to kind of help put these bases together. And I don't think they're going to be willing to finance it. So are we going to be able to do it? No. And I think this is why we're building a base in Gaza. We're probably going to build another one in South Lebanon. So we're not really bringing the troops home, Mr. Trump. I wish we were. But
of all people to comment on this is Jake Sullivan.
Oh, yeah.
The national security advisor to President Biden for 4 years. Here's what he said about the Gulf states questioning their relationship with the United States. This is 2 days ago, or yesterday, actually. Chris, cut number 4.
I think that they are now questioning the basic model upon which they've built their security, which has been essentially a deep partnership, security partnership with the United States, including forward deployed American bases in their countries. I think now they're asking themselves, what are we getting for that? And do we need basically a more diversified approach that involves a degree of hedging with other powers, maybe including China, and definitely includes quiet diplomacy with Iran to try to make sure that they're de-escalating with their neighbor across the strait?
Thought I'd say this, but I thought Jake makes eminent sense.
Yeah, well, he's been listening to your guests, I think.
Including you.
I mean, I've been saying that from the beginning, and I'm not an expert, but I think a lot of the other folks have been saying, people that really study this have been observing that the power ratio has changed, the dynamic has changed. And these countries are, when change happens, you have to react to it. And the change that has happened is America is not your friend. They're not your ally. They actually make you more vulnerable to getting shot up and wasted than a different option. What would be those different options? Well, Iran has got some ideas, but so do other countries. Turkey for quite a long while has been looking to expand, and I don't know if they're financially able to do it, but they have an idea that and they do have the biggest army in the region as far as men under arms, I believe. So there's great power in the Middle Eastern countries, power that has been divided and subdivided and diverted because we're there, and we like it like that. But guess what? We can't do that. Our military has proven itself to be not just poorly led from a political sense, but poorly led even from a military and logistical sense. We can't do much of anything. And I think the whole world sees it. They see it. So what are they going to do? Well, they're going to be self-sufficient. And these countries, a lot of these oil exporting and gas exporting countries have money. They have the ability to do a lot themselves if they want to. And I think maybe they weren't confident in their abilities. But now you could say, well, you could buy from the Iranians. They got great drones and wonderful ballistic missiles, and they have good intelligence systems. You could buy from them. Heck, you could buy from the Ukrainians. I think Mr. Who is he, piano playing dude up there in Ukraine, he has been down trying to sell drones to Saudi Arabia and other countries. So they don't need to depend on the United States. And this war, this 40-day war that Trump started for Israel, really has demonstrated that if you are counting on the United States, you really need to think twice. So what Jake Sullivan is saying is very safe to say at this point, because he's absolutely correct. We're seeing all the signs.
What will Netanyahu do to undermine the memorandum of understanding, besides continuing to invade Lebanon?
Yeah, well, actually, he's doing it. He's doing it right now. He is. You heard about this massive explosion that they did in southern Lebanon, the biggest thing they've ever dropped. I mean, you could hear it deep in Israel. So they're dropping not just the normal stuff, but they are basically aggressively constituting their war. They're aggressively saying they're not leaving. They're basically in 100% violation of Clause 1 of the MOU, just in your face violation. They're also switching brigades out from South Lebanon to give them a break so they can go back to Gaza, where they own 70%, not the 52% that was allowed in the so-called ceasefire of last fall, but they're up to 70% now, and they want more. And they're pushing the remaining surviving Gazans to leave, to emigrate themselves, self-emigrate. They want that, and they're going to take that. And that's also where they're going to put the U.S. base. And Trump is big on, we still have this big plan to redo Gaza as a Mediterranean travel center or something, on the body of the destroyed, Palestinian people. So they're moving in all fronts. So all fronts, West Bank, of course, is exploding. So what Netanyahu is doing is in your face violation. And he is trying, number one, to keep his popularity, because he has to show how powerful he is and how he's protecting Israel. even though most Israelis understand that he's really not. But it's not just that. He is attempting to poke Iran into something that many Iranians want to do already, and that is to hit Israel so hard there's no Israel left. That sentiment in Iran is high, and this is a cause for debate, right? So they've got an MOU. The MOU is good for Iran. If they could just get through it, if they could just have some compliance, that will work. Israel doesn't want it to work. So he's going to keep doing what he's doing in hopes of creating a Ukrainian backlash that is such that somehow the Americans say we have to get back in this war and just finish it. And again, the idea of finishing it, turning places into parking lots, destroying whole civilizations. This is language of atomic weapons. This is Trump's language. Somebody needs to keep him away from the button, and apparently they already know that up in Washington. So, but yeah, he's going to continue that until he's done with. Now, I will say something interesting, and I know very little about what goes on in Israel as far as politics, but there is a party. You know how we have left and right. You have Likud is right, and then you have the Naftali Bennett people. Well, they're pretty far right too. I don't know if they consider themselves left, but there's a new party that was formed only last year by a former IDF general, and it's called, I don't know what the Hebrew name is, but it's called straight. It means honest. It's straight and honest. Can you imagine if we had a straight and honest in this country? We would flock to it. We would love it. And we may get that. We may get that. But anyway, there's something that has emerged, the straight party, the honest party. And the guy is no Netanyahu, and he's no Naftali Bennett. He is Moroccan from his heritage. Moroccan Jew, obviously been in Israel. His parents came to Israel, but it's kind of like a comforting candidate, in fact, because he just the very fact that he's honest distinguishes him from almost every other.
I don't know. Do you really think it matters who the Israeli prime minister is? The whole society is bent on the greater Israel project.
It is, but Netanyahu, a big part of his popularity is he can bend the United States to his will. And Naftali Bennett is trying to follow that same thing. He speaks English very well, and he's trying to make sure that he's trying to garner American political support for his campaign. This guy, the straight party guy, it's like, nah, he wants to put Israel first.
Wow.
And so, and really not, because there is some backlash with when the American government tries to tell Israel what to do. They say, well, wait a minute, we have our sovereignty. You shouldn't tell us what to do. Now, apparently we don't feel the same way when they tell us what to do. But anyway, within Israel, there is some appeal. This party is growing, and they say it actually can be it's actually already ahead of Naftali's coalition. Not quite with the other one, but anyway, maybe something will change in that regard. But no, not with Netanyahu. He is bound and determined to destroy all of his neighbors, even Syria. Even the Syrians are mad at him now, and
yeah,
even the terrorists that we put in place in Syria is mad at Netanyahu today.
Karen, I have to go. Thank you very much, my dear friend. I'll be gone for a couple of weeks. We'll look forward to seeing you in the middle of July.
Sounds great. We'll see you later, Judge. Thank you.
Thanks for everything. All the best. Coming up tomorrow, Wednesday at 8 a.m, Professor Gilbert Doctorow. At 2 p.m, Colonel Douglas McGregor. At 3 p.m, Aaron Mate. Judge Napolitano for Judging Freedom.